Coming out of high school, Marquise Brown didn't have a single Division I offer, he weighed less than 140 pounds, and was living on just $25 per week. But what if I told you that just a few years later, he'd not only be the first wide receiver drafted in his class, but he'd be responsible for a $57 million business that almost nobody knows about? Well, I just interviewed him myself, and that's exactly what happened. But to understand the reason for his rapid rise, we have to go back to the beginning, when Marquise Brown was born on June 4th, 1997 in Hollywood, Florida. Now, the fact that Marquise was ever born at all is nothing short of a miracle. That's because when his mom, Shannon James, found out she was pregnant with their second child, the doctors gave her a choice: give up the baby to save her own life, or have the baby and risk dying herself. Now, for Shannon, the choice was obvious. However, after delivering Marquise 2 weeks early, both of her kidneys failed just as the doctors had predicted. This meant she had to spend the next 5 years on dialysis, and after 2 resuscitations, Marquise and his older brother Shanice weren't sure if their mom was going to make it. To make matters even worse, Shannon's condition meant she couldn't work, leaving Social Security and government disability assistance as the family's only income, which was barely enough to cover food and rent. Luckily, Shannon slowly recovered and came to call Marquise her miracle baby. But from the very beginning, it was clear that he was going to have to overcome a lot in life if he ever wanted to make it out of Hollywood. For starters, Marquise was born an undersized 5 pounds 6 ounces at birth, a stigma that would follow him all the way to the NFL. But in spite of his size, and thanks to a Dan Marino jersey he got for Halloween at 2 years old, it was always the game of football that he gravitated towards the most. His mom recalls that instead of watching cartoons or playing video games, Marquise always wanted to watch football on TV. And even though he was always the smallest kid, he wanted to play football too. But the path wasn't easy. For starters, Marquise grew up around one of the most competitive youth football regions in the entire country, even playing in the same Pop Warner League as Lamar Jackson. This meant as an undersized kid, he didn't get much playing time. But luckily, he had a different skill to offer: his speed, and he was even able to make a little bit of money off of it.
People in my neighborhood would bring me out. People from older guys, it didn't matter. They'd call for me to come race and, put some money in my pocket.
Now, while Marquise would go on to use his blazing speed to set 100 and 200 meter track records in high school, it was always football that he found himself coming back to. Unfortunately, as a junior, he was still just 5'8" and 130 pounds, which meant that most of his playing time was relegated to being a kick returner or deep threat specialist. It also meant that when the time came to start looking at colleges, he didn't have the stats to command serious interest from any of the top schools. In fact, when he graduated in 2015, he didn't have a single Division I scholarship offer, but he didn't let that deter him. Instead, he took the fall of 2015 off from playing football and spent it scouring the internet for any school that would take him while putting himself through drills at the local park. Eventually, he stumbled across a junior college called College of the Canyons in Southern California at the suggestion of a friend, and after one visit, he decided to board a plane for the very first time to follow his dream of hopefully one day playing Division I football. And inside of his suitcase was a year's supply of these. Okay, not really. But you could win a year's supply of the softest, most comfortable pair of underwear on the planet from today's sponsor, Chill Boys. Now, you've probably heard me talk about Chill Boys before and how their performance boxers have basically become my new go-to for the past few months because of how soft and breathable they are. So I won't bore you with those details and instead just show you how you could win a free year supply of underwear from Chill Boys just for watching this video. All you have to do is click the top link in the description, enter your email address, and boom, you're done. This giveaway runs through February, so make sure to go sign up now, and make sure to keep an eye out on your email because that's where Chill Boys will let you know if you won. And now back to the video. Now, from the very beginning, Marquise knew his time in California wouldn't be easy, since JUCOs don't offer scholarships. This meant that on top of playing football and going to class, he had to pick up a job at Six Flags as a roller coaster operator just to pay his way through school. Teammates recall him showing up to practice still wearing his uniform, which was only out of necessity since Marquise couldn't afford a car and would regularly walk the 3.2 miles each way to get to and from work. This job earned him about $700 per month, which was just enough to cover his rent for a room near campus where he slept on an air mattress, but only left him with $25 per week to spend on food. This resulted in what Marquise plainly describes as a diet that consisted of a lot of ramen noodles and cheap frozen foods, but it also meant that he had dipped under 140 pounds. Still, it didn't matter, because before the season even started, Brown's JUCO coach was already telling Division I coaches that he was a player to watch, thanks in large part to his insane 4.33 40-yard dash. And the attention only heated up once the season started, with Brown averaging over 75 yards and a touchdown per game. Eventually, Brown's JUCO coach had enough highlights to send a tape to every Power 5 school in the country, and the rest is pretty much history. Brown ended up picking Oklahoma after receiving dozens of offers from some of the top schools in the nation. And even though he showed up to Norman only weighing 147 pounds, he led the team in receiving his very first year, and after a breakout 265-yard and 2-touchdown game, he earned himself a nickname that would end up sticking.
Caught by Hollywood Brown, still running. Hollywood Brown, all the way, touchdown Oklahoma!
In 2019, Brown would be the first wide receiver selected in the NFL draft, and a few months later, he used the money from his rookie contract to buy his mom a house and even her dream car. But along the way, something changed for Brown. He was no longer the scrappy underdog who was just trying to get noticed. Instead, he had just signed an $11 million rookie deal, which was more money than his family had ever had. And he wanted to make sure he didn't screw it all up.
When I went to junior college, like I said, that was my first time on the plane. So, being out there, I enjoyed my time, but it was hard living. And I did not want to, go back to that, at all. It was, a dark spot for me. So when I got, to OU and even just getting a little scholarship check that we were getting, I felt like I was on top of the world. So when I got to the league, and they instill it in you, you go to all these seminars, you talk to all these retired players, older players, guys you look up to that they made so much money, now they got no money. So it's that just became a fear of mine. It's I don't want to be that.
Now, to be fair, it's estimated that upwards of 78% of former NFL players go bankrupt or are under financial stress within 2 years of retirement, which is why most NFL financial advisors suggest that their clients simply put money into the stock market and forget about it while it grows at 4 to 8% every year. But from the very beginning, Brown was skeptical of this strategy.
My advisors, at the time, they had the plan that they thought was something I wanted. And, the traditional stocks and all that, I was leaving it up to them. But then I quickly started to realize that's not really what I want for my finances. I got a hustler mentality, and I don't want to leave it up to somebody saying, well, when you're retired, this how much you will have. When it's if I got this much, why can't I turn this into more? And they will always tell us, well, we need to wait until our second contract. And I'm well, what if this dude don't make it to his second contract? And I just started questioning everything. And then that's when, I just started doing stuff on my own.
Now, it wasn't evident right away what else Brown wanted to do. But after listening to some podcasts, talking to wealthy individuals outside of football, and seeing the success his then fiancée Zoe was having flipping homes, the couple bought their first rehab house together in Houston at the end of 2021. They continued successfully buying and flipping properties through 2023, even as Brown was traded to Arizona. But then last year, Brown decided that he still wasn't satisfied. Because just a few months after signing a 1-year prove-it deal with the Kansas City Chiefs, Brown announced that he and his wife were teaming up with a private equity firm called Island Sky Investments that specializes in building luxury tropical vacation and resort-style real estate. The general idea is that Island Sky builds the real estate and Brown brings the money. But he didn't want it to just be him this time. So he began pitching the investment to teammates and coaches, although he was met with some unexpected pushback.
I never get pushback from the players. It's always from the advisors. But I kind of know people brought me stuff, and I kind of just or I leave it up to my people. But advisors, they don't tend to push you on something they're not getting paid off of. They get paid off how much money they invest into stocks. So of course they're not trying to take a large chunk, because with the Platinum Pro Fund, the minimum is $200K. So they're not trying to take a large chunk to put that into the fund that they're not getting paid off of, even if it benefits their client. If you're that advisor, which one would you suggest to your client?
Still, Brown's first Platinum Pro Capital Fund, which launched last year, has already raised over $48 million from players, coaches, and other high net worth individuals. However, Brown says their goal is $57 million. Essentially, the way the fund works is that this pool of money will be used to build 2 developments, one in St. John's and the other in the Bahamas. And just like buying equity in a company, as the value of these properties goes up, the value of everyone's investment goes up too. According to Platinum Pro's website, the targeted return for each of these properties is 1.58x and 2.47x respectively. But that's not even the best part, because for players and coaches, it will also be free to use these properties in the off-season to train or just vacation with their families. However, in talking to Brown, it doesn't seem like he gets too caught up in the money or the flashiness of the investment. Instead, I came away with a much different understanding of a guy who's trying to pave a path forward for more people like him.
I just want to be a positive example for kids that come after me to know, you know, football, you know, is wonderful. You can accomplish everything you want to be. Because on the field, I try to set a great example as well. And then off the field, you could be that same leader off the field. You don't have to follow no trends. You don't have to follow nobody. You're in here, and God gave you this opportunity, you know, not just for yourself, you know, for your family, for your future kids. And so it's up to you to take advantage of it.
Thanks again to Marquise for sitting down with me. If you want to listen to our full 30-minute conversation, the link to that is in the description. Otherwise, if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. It's a free and easy way to support the channel. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video.